Hey guys, welcome to Love, Life, and Politics, where I talk about love, life, and mostly politics. Before I start, I'd like to talk about where I've been getting my sources and who I've been watching throughout the week. For my conservative and libertarian side would be Ben Shapiro, and my number one of all time, Steven Crowder, Louder with Crowder. And then my libertarian and more left side would be Tim Pool and Sticks X and Hammer 666. So I'm going to go through what exactly we're going to talk today. So first off, I'm going to talk about Biden and his accuser and her major interview. We're going to talk about Flynn and the origin of the Russia probe, as well as Arbury and the state of factless outrage that we have nowadays. Anyways, to begin, let's start with number one, which would be the Biden and his accuser. So his accuser, Tara Reade, you guys have probably definitely heard about him by now, She's been in the news, maybe not as much as the last time that somebody in major position was being accused, but definitely now being in the news and people are being forced to actually recognize what's going on. She's had a couple of interviews. She's been trying to get interviews for a while now. So people who keep on saying she's just doing it out of the blue, she was trying to have her story put out there a while back before Biden was even really the nominee. So those who are trying to say that she's trying to just attack Biden, sorry, that does not fly. Anyways, she had a major interview with Megyn Kelly. A lot of people were mad because she did not choose to go to any of the major networks. This was kind of something that was done because Megyn Kelly, I don't think is no longer associated with any major network. So it's kind of like her own thing. And a lot of major networks are mad that she's not doing with them. And I think that this is right. It's a right move for her because she attempted to go to these people to begin with, but they brushed her story aside because Biden was their guy. They were essentially running screen, running protection for him. And now she had to resort to this, which I think is good. And I think that more of this needs to happen. These major news networks needs to know that if they're not going to be staying 100, treating both sides the way they need to, or at least trying to be fair to both sides and pushing people down that need to be heard, in their opinion, in the way they think need to be heard, then third sources, people that are not conventional media, should rise up. And that's why YouTube is essentially being dominated by libertarians and conservatives, because they are shooting from the hip, telling you what it is and not being afraid that their boss is going to fire them because they are their own bosses. But in the interview, that Kelly actually really grilled her, actually asked her questions that were not easy or softball, and Tara, she answered them as best as she could. And a lot of people are saying that this interview was perfect, and people are believing her. I think some polls came out recently that 60 to 70% of people believe this woman. So that's quite crazy. And the evidence that she has on her side is way more than what Kavanaugh's accuser had. It's not even close at all. But that's pretty much the gist of that. Is just y'all should definitely go and check out this interview and see what she has to say for herself. I will put a disclaimer. I am one of those people that does not believe in 30-year-old claims. I believe what she's saying is true because the evidence and the way he acts definitely matches up, unlike previous accusers. And she's got receipts essentially. But I don't think something that happened 30, 40, 50 years ago should be weighed against somebody who's trying to do something now. Now, I guess it might be slightly different because he was in government when he did something like this. So it would show his character while he's in government because he's done it before. But let's just say, even though we know definitely no shred of evidence really shows us that Kavanaugh did do what he did, that was in high school before he was grown up in a position of any power or esteem, and he did something dumb as a kid. And I do not think that should be held to prevent somebody from getting a job 50, 30, 40 years later. That's just not fair, and I don't think people should be judged like that. But with the Biden case, I think he should be judged on the sword that he was swinging at everybody else. I think he needs to face judgment because he was saying believe all women whenever Kavanaugh was being grilled for no reason. And I think he needs to face it. He needs his people to chew him out the same way that they chewed out Kavanaugh, with substantially less claims and less facts. Anyway, second thing I want to talk about is Flynn and the origin of the Russia probe. Oh my gosh. it looks really good. It looks good. Why does it look good, you would say? I mean, I know a man who was put in a position that he should not have been put in, was essentially being berated by the FBI, facing charges, has now been essentially vindicated because they have now realized or found out, or evidence has surfaced, that the FBI was essentially using him to get to Trump. They were FBI notes apparently taken where they were trying to discuss whether we're trying to get this guy fired or if they just wanted to prosecute him or get him to lie and commit perjury. And this is starting to pile up so big that people that you would not expect to be involved, or a lot of people have been saying there's no way they're involved, have now been kind of implicated. Biden has been implicated, and even Obama himself has been implicated. Not going to really go into the details of what's in all of these, but I do want to talk about just the wider implications of this. So for 3 years, almost 4, we've been subject to claims that Trump has been associating with the Russians, circumventing our elections, and so forth. And lots of people who have now their testimonies or have been revealed saying behind closed doors that they have no evidence at all. They don't even believe it themselves, are then turning around, going on public TV and telling our entire country and essentially the world that they have evidence that our president is colluding with a foreign power. That is insane. And honestly, not a lot of people are going to go down for this, and it's quite ridiculous. If the shoe was on the other foot, we would not hear the end of it, and people would have already been in jail a while back. It just goes to show you the double standards that we have, that we're willing to completely disrespect and defile somebody's presidency simply because we don't want them to be president, especially somebody who is actively the administration beforehand sabotaging the next administration coming in. I think that a lot of people, and I'm sorry, it just seems to be coming on the left, don't seem to respect the Constitution or any of the values that our country has kind of been built on. If you're people in power, and yeah, Nixon did some dumb stuff back in the day, 100%, he should definitely face what he needed to face for that. Understand, I respect that. But to compare what he did to what Trump did, which is actually nothing, and then actually look at what the Obama administration did, it's completely different. Nixon had some buffoons breaking into Watergate Hotel to get some 15 minutes of tape. These people essentially started investigations that would put people in jail, threatening people's families, and all that to make the president coming after them look bad and perform bad, and in their opinion, not get reelected or actually be kicked out of office. So it's quite crazy to see how one side, before when this Russiagate was going on, everybody was saying so much. Everybody had an answer. Everybody knew what was going on. But now that's died down, and now new facts that are coming out to show that all that was happening in the past was complete BS, and Trump was right essentially 100% of the way, and he did not do anything wrong. Nobody wants to say anything. And now it's just a Fox News conspiracy. Nah, bro. Obamagate is real. And if more evidence comes out, it's going to be really, really, really bad for all those people who kept on pushing that Russiagate scandal. I think they're still pushing it to this day, even though more evidence is coming out that that's BS. And they're running screen. But I think the American people have been hearing all that trash for so long. Impeachment just went through. This, that. Oh, it's not going to look good when the real facts start coming out. And they're going to have to do it, just like they weren't looking forward to or trying their best not to report on Biden and his accuser. And then they eventually had to do it because the pressure was on, because real reporters, people who aren't biased, or who, of course, people have their biases, but people who are willing to say what's actually happening, despite what they themselves believe, were pushing it out there. They were forced to actually report on that. And I think the same thing's going to happen with this, and we're going to see a reckoning. I hope we do. I do want people to get prosecuted for this because it's not fair, and they need to make a statement to everybody who's coming in the future that you're not allowed to circumvent your predecessor like that. You're not allowed to just try to your best to ruin the next president's ability to lead the country. That is not fair, and you should never, ever, ever be allowed to do that in any way, shape, or form. And the last thing I want to talk about is this Arbury case. So if you haven't heard, I'm sure you have heard, a man was shot by two white guys were pursuing him in a truck, got shot, and they were saying he was murdered. And I kind of really using this point to talk to about the conversation I had with my sisters. So I take pride in, again, having multiple sources from multiple different angles explaining things that are happening. And a lot of people, I would say at least 70%, in my humble opinion, people do not do any research at all. So whatever they hear is what they digest, and they don't ever make that decision to look at what's actually going on both sides from different perspectives, so they know they're not being utilized. And man, I asked my sisters, because the conversation came up about, actually they asked me about this case because they know I'm into politics. Just like, what do you think about this black man being shot and all that? I'm like, you know what? I bet you don't know the full story. So you tell me what you know so far. And they told me what 90% of you people that are listening probably have heard, that, oh yeah, this guy was just, these two racist men shot this guy out the blue for no reason. He was just out jogging and they had no right to do that. Full blank. This guy should not have been killed. These people went too far in what they were trying to do. They were justified in what they were doing, but they went way too far in what they did. So what actually happened? Anyways, but just from the beginning, this guy does not live in this neighborhood. He lives 10 miles away from this neighborhood. This guy is on camera trespassing into somebody's house late at night multiple times. He's in a neighborhood he should not be in. These men who traced him 2 weeks prior had stuff stolen, including a weapon stolen from their property, apparently from their truck. The day this action happened, Arbury was inside the same house that he was recorded being in before, where he's not supposed to be. A neighbor called the cops saying, hey, there's somebody on this property that should not be on this property. He sees this, runs out the front door, and takes off. Those two men see him running, kind of understand what's going on, and they chase him. They attempt to stop him. He keeps running. So they drive ahead of him. Then this is where like the video really starts. This is the part where everybody is actually watching and see it. You see two guys, one on the truck, one in the front, and then they kind of go out of view. And you can see this man did not just shoot this guy because he's black. There's no way you can honestly look at that video and say this man just point blank shot the man because he was black. Don't know who swung first because it was essentially behind the truck. I couldn't really see, but you can see that they're essentially tussling. They're moving around. Arbury's swinging. I don't know what's going on through his head. I don't know if he feels guilty, which is why he's doing what he's doing, or he's just trying to defend himself. Because honestly, two white guys with a gat that just chased you down, just tried to stop you earlier. You didn't stop, and then they come up in front of you. I can understand the fear. So they're fighting and I'm guessing he's probably trying to get this weapon away from him, which I would say is smart. And then in this process, he gets shot 2 to 3 times. That's what happens. These men saw somebody. They live in a state where you can actually make citizens arrest. It's a valid case for what they were trying to do. Now, should they have had their guns? If they thought that this was the exact guy that had previously stolen a weapon from them, I can understand why they thought they should be armed, because they know that this person may be in possession of a weapon. That's understandable. Should they have been a little bit smarter with it? Probably. 100%. This man should not have died. But the story that my sisters had versus the story that is actually unfolding was so different. I had to explain to them that you can never, ever, ever, the media, news, academics, all of them are liberal leaning, and not just leaning, like more like liberal toppling, and they're going to give you what they want you to hear so that you can think what they want you to think. This man should not have died, 100%. But this was not a hate crime, and these people were not incited by hate or racism. They saw a man that they suspected had stolen from them and was now running from another crime scene, essentially. So they tried to stop him, and they did some dumb behind things that killed this man. He should not have died. Not at all. Anybody who says that is a retard. But anybody who says that these people just decided to kill him because he was black are also retards. I don't know if that's a word that's allowed to be said, but I'm gonna say it. They're mentally handicapped for being somebody who's not actually mentally handicapped. Do not go throughout life just believing your side, because you will be treated like sheep. I told them also, you, especially around this time, be on the lookout, because right around now, like clockwork, they start trying to say so-and-so is racist, so-and-so is racist, because they try to get black people to just do what they want you to do, which is vote for them overwhelmingly and them not actually do anything for you. That's why we're seeing major governors, people in positions of power who are black and are Democrats, saying, yo, Trump got what he got. I think he's the one that I'm going to be going for next time. And it's sad. It's sad. I really do think we need to keep our eyes open whenever there's any action that has any race involved. I think both conservatives as well as liberals and even those in between to stop, look at the perspective that they're giving you, and also go look at the other perspective. Because just like the Covington kids, they gave you one perspective to make you think one thing. But if you were just to expand by 10 minutes one direction, the whole story changes. The entire story changes. Sad that this man had to die. This man should not have died. I think laws, I actually can't tell you. I don't know exactly what the laws are. I do know that you can make a citizen's arrest in this state. But I do think people need to be more cautious whenever they're trying to make a citizen's arrest or do anything that is potentially good, or try to go after somebody who took your stuff. You got to be smart about this stuff and have some foresight, and don't be stupid. But this man shouldn't have died, and at the same time, this was not a hate crime. And I think people out there really need to take their time and think about what they're thinking, think about where they're getting their sources, and think about what that source wants you to think, and make rational decisions and come to rational conclusions for things that we're researching and seeing around us. I think that's pretty logical. Anyways, thank you for listening to my spiel. These are the 3 things that kind of happened this week that I wanted to talk about. I don't have any added things that really popped up. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you want to support the channel, I got a book that I've published. It's called Why I, a Young Black Man, Voted for Trump. I don't have any other revenue streams. I do want this channel to grow and do more and speak to more people. I actually have conversations with people, which is why I really, really like this. I love talking to people. If you want to support that, please check out that book. Leave a good comment, leave a good review, leave a comment down before, like and share, and so forth. Thank you for listening again. Have a blessed one. Stay safe.